You know, apparently they're now saying that the Republican Party is having trouble with young evangelical voters. Yeah, that's what they're saying. I wouldn't know. I'm not a young evangelical voter. But apparently, Ye and Trump are just a little too much to swallow for young evangelical voters. Apparently, the number one issue as to why Republicans are losing young evangelical voters has to do with climate change. Yeah, I can totally see that being the case. I mean, the planet is sort of kind of reacting poorly to the mismanagement of what people are doing to it. So young evangelical voters care about climate change, and the Republican Party as a whole doesn't. So they really don't have any representative to represent their viewpoint that climate change should be taken seriously. Maybe they don't want to be progressives. Maybe they don't want to be vegan, plant-based. They don't want to be flower children. But they sort of kind of want to have a planet to grow old on that's not underwater or on fire. You know, I think what's going to have to happen is young Republicans are going to have to start running for office on the issue of climate change. Because you can clearly see the old crop of Republicans are not going to come around to agreeing with the scientific community and the scientific evidence the scientific community is presenting. That's obvious at this point. And, you know, they really don't have too many local representatives that are going to stand up and punch back to the stupidity of the Republican establishment on the issue of climate change. Except for one individual. Apparently, Alyssa Farah Griffin believes in climate change. And she's apparently willing to go to bat on the issue with her own party. Now, I don't think I've ever told you all about Alyssa Farah Griffin. A very prestigious family. You know, not to get too much into family business, but her paternal side of the family, he's very, very adamantly a segregationist and a racist. So I get why Alyssa Farah Griffin is a conservative. Because when you come from that type of, we'll call it brainwashing. when you come from that kind of brainwashing that is conservatism, it's going to have some effects on you. The fact that she's for climate change should be a win for sanity, I guess. But no, it's not a small deal, because what the Republican Party is going to need is young Americans who are conservative to really start to give a damn about the climate change issue. You know, it shouldn't be partisan. Climate change, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. I'm sorry, is the water rising gonna only drown Democrats? Are the fires that are going to burn only gonna burn down Democrat homes, businesses? So when we think about climate change, we have to think in terms of this being a catastrophic event that's going to affect all of us. One person put it best. They were talking about a candidate and they said, and she believes in climate change. And the other person stopped her and said, wait a minute. Please don't say that she believes in climate change. Because climate change doesn't care whether you believe in it or not. It's a reality. And that's what I don't think the Republican Party understands. It doesn't matter whether you believe in the science or not. It's like saying, I don't believe in the moon. Well, the moon is going to show up in the sky whether you believe in it or not. The water is going to rise whether you want to believe it or not. The polar ice caps have broke off and are melting rapidly, whether you want to believe it or not. And somebody said that's like the refrigerator of the earth. Could be. We really don't know what's underneath all of that ice. Let me repeat that for all the slow folks in the back. We really don't know what the hell is in that ice. But I guarantee you one thing, once it starts stalling off and cracking, we're going to all find out. There might be some things frozen. Then now that the ice is cracked, they can start unthawing. And we might want them to stay on ice. There could be some big ass creatures frozen in that ice. And once that shit starts unthawing, you're going to start seeing them. And I really don't want to see some of those things. I don't think any of us do. That's why they're frozen. Look, I welcome anybody to the team of common sense, science, and pragmatic rationalism. Even if they come with their own baggage, I still welcome them. So welcome Alyssa Farah Griffin. You know, she's getting a lot of shit thrown her way. You had a conservative individual use some very misogynistic terms towards her. I won't repeat it. Why is it always the case that conservative men are concerned about how much sex women are having or not having, and use pejoratives to describe women for enjoying the same thing they enjoy. I really don't understand that. Anyway, we're not going to do name calling. We're not going to talk about philosophy or ideology. We're going to find commonality. And on this one issue of climate change, which I think is an existential threat to all of us on the planet, if somebody wants to say that they want to help solve the issue of climate change, and they aren't a socialist, they aren't a progressive, they aren't a liberal, I'm not going to shut the door in their face and tell them to go away. I'm going to open the door, may hug them, side hug. We'll have to do side hugs or fist bumps. It's still COVID, I'm sorry. We'll do a fist bump. And I'm going to welcome them. Look, there's some things you can play politics with. Climate change is not one of them. And I think the sooner the Republican Party comes around to this inconvenient truth, the better. So we should be welcoming young evangelicals who care about climate change. We really should. I'm not going to welcome their religious bullshit. Oh, hell no. I'm not going to welcome their misogyny, their racism. Oh, hell no. But if they want to work together on climate change in good faith, then that's something that I'll welcome. Look, they're not going to agree with us. We're not going to agree with them. But on climate change, we all can agree that we don't want to be underwater or on fire. And, would you look at the clock? It's ticking. I think we're going to be underwater very shortly or on fire very shortly. Why would I think that? Because we already are. 2/3 of Pakistan was underwater this year. China, flooding, massive flooding. Kentucky, massive flooding. Florida, wild hurricanes. You're going to wake up one of these days and they're going to say it's a Category 6 hurricane coming. You're going to say, no, they must have read that wrong. There's no such thing as a Category 6. Oh, there will be such a thing as a Category 6 because we keep fucking around. And Mother Nature is not going to fuck around with our fucking out very much longer. So I welcome anybody who's willing to roll up their sleeves and get this work done. And it's a lot of work that needs to be done. We need to really course correct. And like I said, even for us who are really troops, really championing the issue of climate change, we're going to have to make some changes too. Look, people say a Green New Deal. Fine, I'm all for this Green New Deal. But the deal has to include all of us. It has to include us as an individual too. People are going to have to eat better to save the planet too. Fruits, nuts, and seeds. Plant-based. You gotta stop treating animals like shit. They got to be part of the Green New Deal too. So this is going to take a massive effort on all of our parts to change. And we have to welcome incremental change. Because I understand that people seldom like change. Especially when they've been doing something for a long period of time. They make excuses. Oh, well, I've done it this way. Doesn't mean that you did it the right way, just because you've done it a long time the incorrect way. People were like, I've eaten meat and dairy. And I'm like, yeah, and you've taken medication and been in the hospital because of it. So we have to change. And we should welcome folks who are changing, even if it's gradual. Be welcoming. Remember, I talked about this, a welcoming society. We have to be welcoming to everyone if they're willing to gradually change and adapt. Now, if you're some Neanderthal who is not accepting of people, I'm not going to be welcoming of you. But if you're like Alyssa, Farah, Griffin, willing to open up and learn, I'm willing to welcome you. So I'm going to keep my eyes on Alyssa. I'm going to keep my ears open to hear what Alyssa has to say. And I hope she'll use her influence, her platform, to advocate more young conservatives take up the issue of climate change. It's desperately needed. And it's much appreciated. So thank you, Alyssa, Farah. They'll say, oh, nobody ever sees these things. That's what they say.